Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Norman Christopher, and I'm here to share a story about Seeds of Promise. I know some of you have heard a little bit about this story. I've been engaged with Seeds now for 10 years, and the reason why I'm here is to really kind of share their inspiration in creativity and empowerment that the residents of this community within the inner city of Grand Rapids has inspired me for quite a period of time. And we're going to try to show you some of the results today, show you where some of the challenges are today. But first, let's look at some of the issues that the Seeds, thanks. There are about 7 billion people in the world today, and 4 billion of them live at the base of the pyramid. The base of the pyramid are those that live in really frontier and emerging markets and face issues of survival. Those deal with food, malnutrition, sanitation, and it really is a survival mode for many of them. They live on $3 to $4 a day, which is like a cup of Starbucks for us. And we live at the top of the pyramid. There are about 1 billion of us today that live in the developing countries. And we have the highest per capita income. However, underneath it is the base at the top of the pyramid. And these are where some of the residents of our inner cities live today. And the issues I sort of put in two different baskets. Some of the top of the pyramid issues for some of us deal with quality of life issues. But if you live within the inner city, those issues may be said in terms of wellness and well-being. And so you see things like, do I have a job? How can I create wealth? What kind of a house do I live in? Do I have access to health and wellness in my community, not necessarily somewhere else? How can I improve my own educational attainment? Do I live in a safe community? And is there an opportunity to engage in social entrepreneurship? These are some of the issues that the inner city people look at today. So who is the Seeds community? Well, when it started out, it was kind of like located at the corner of Burton and Division. And then it grew through the Garfield Park Neighborhood Association into the Madison Square area. And today, through some of the program development, it's now over 10,000 residents. And so who are the residents? What do they look like? Well, there are 47% of them are African American, 32% Hispanic Latino, and about 18% white. What's striking, however, is 38% of the people that live in the Seeds community are 19 years and younger. Coupled with that is the fact that only 47% have a high school diploma or GED. 37% live in owner-occupied dwellings and units, but these people all seek employment. So think of the stew as an image here of ingredients, capabilities, and processes we're trying to put inside Seeds of Promise. It starts with resident-based neighborhood surveys. We've been doing those in the community for many, many years, and they address needs and wants. But coupled with that is a process known as deep listening. And I actually went to Cornell University myself to learn about this process. And what it is, it gets you to a place where you just don't become aware, but you truly understand what those needs and wants are. But then the next step is you have to co-create with those that provide those needs and wants the service that they want when they want it. So there's a co-creation that goes along with the mutual understanding and awareness. Gap analysis, sure, we know where the critical issues are, but think in terms of a SWOT analysis. Think in terms of plan, do, check, act. Those are the processes and the metrics that you use to report progress. Asset-based community development, there's that ingredient. That's what is in the community that can be leveraged. The BOP, the Base of the Pyramid Protocol that I just showed you, allows you to do phased development based upon deep listening. Sustainable development best practices are used to create long-term value and impact, not just short-term efficiency. Design thinking is a process now at Grand Valley and other places where you seek inter and interdisciplinary approaches, holistic approaches, to get at the delivery of the best service. And I think we were actually using this process until it got a bit more articulated for us. Now we understand that we were actually using the inputs of the community at large to get at that best practice. Host neighbor governance and leadership, here's your first change. The people inside SEEDS today, there are 25 plus host neighbors that have been trained for over 1 year in governance and leadership. Each of them have conducted their own community development project. And more importantly now, they're empowered through coaching to make the decision for their own community. That's a major change for us. And then the final one is there are 8 impact teams that you will learn about as defined by the community, where these host neighbors now lead all decision making. And you will see that change in paradigm here shortly. So the question is, now that you have a stew, can you make it a better sauce on top of it? And this has been, I think, the sweetest part of the journey for me is to understand the norms, values, and beliefs that are inherent in the neighborhood. And I know we always are quick to point out and become very reactive, but I've learned with others about what mutual understanding really is. And it includes not only the residents and the host neighbors and the leaders, but also we have 70 endorsing partner organizations that are helping with this transformational change. Empowerment, decision-making at a resident level is new. Creativity and innovation, meaning that you're not just looking at maintaining the status quo. Trust, mutual trust and respect. It takes time, because you have to stick with them through the good times and the more difficult ones. Shared knowledge and experiences. We have such a diverse community. They are rich in those experiences. And if they have the opportunity to share them, you're inspired to provide the resources and support for them to build their own community even better. Transformational change. I don't think this is an initiative that just looks at making improvements, which you do see year by year, but it's this transformational change where you see empowered residents willing to try and tackle the deepest issues that we've been facing in our community for years. It's all based upon host neighbors and their resident self-initiative. It's all based upon vision-driven aspirations. When you listen to some of these residents, you cannot leave without being inspired, because they are proud of the efforts that they want to undertake to make their community a better place to live in. So this little connectedness model now looks a whole lot different. Number one is usually you see top-down management styles where boards are up at the top. Actually, I sit on an advisory board, cannot make any decision, but my role with others is to provide resource opportunities as well as sustainable development best practices that are fed into a host neighbor leadership council. They in turn provide support for the host neighbor board, which is now 25 host neighbors that are working on these programs. But the key is the resident-driven impact teams. When you ask somebody what is a wellness program, they are going to describe something that deals with job and wealth creation, health and wellness, housing and community development, social entrepreneurship, safe community education, and also a ministerial team among the local churches. That's a phenomenal description of what they feel their most pressing community issues are. Each one of them have their own goals, each one of them have their own strategies, each one of them have their own metrics, and we add that all up. And then there are the endorsing partners. So what's the resource pot? The resource pot is kind of interesting. We've been blessed with having donations from public, private, and corporate that have gotten us through the hard times. More importantly, it's the in-kind contributions. I know some of the host neighbors are here today. I know Ron Jimerson is, and probably some of the others. They volunteered their time to the point where they're almost maxed out. These are not volunteer opportunities. These are professional staff opportunities that put in 40 hours a week and more helping to run this program. So in-kind contributions have been terribly important. Grants. Thank you to Kellogg's. Thank you to Fifth Third. Thank you to the City of Grand Rapids. Thank you to the Grand Rapids Public Schools for program funding that has enabled SEEDS to continue to grow. Model program investment, that's a very interesting program. It's like pitch competitions, business competitions for social entrepreneurship. And what does that look like? That could be a food cart, it could be a storefront business, it could be a home-based business like Valencia Cooper and her embroidery business, which is very successful. Those are the kind of businesses that are scalable now with inside Seeds. But what is crowdsourcing in Script? Script is a program where you can capture charitable donations. And it started about 15 years ago with Script right here in Grand Rapids that has 500 retail businesses that are a part of this. So we've just started out with Meyer, and now we're moving into the corporate world. So corporations now can use the Script program and we can capture a charitable rebate off that through Script. And that's another way that enables us to look at a sustainable neighborhood. So what have been the results? Well, during this time frame, we have 25 empowered host neighbors. I couldn't be more proud of them, come from all venues, and they're making all the decisions for Seeds. We have 70 endorsing stakeholder partners, much like the Grand Rapids Sustainability Partnership. We have about 50 of them that I would say are active on an ongoing basis each month with each one of those impact teams. So you can figure 6 to 8 on any one impact team. We generate about $1 million of direct economic impact that we can trace through the work that we do at Seeds. We can get about a 15x return, and this is a big one, on program funding per operational dollar spent. That'll make you think a little bit, because that's a very high ratio. So we can spend a dollar very wisely and maximize its return. About 20 community development projects have actually been completed. Don't have time to go through them all. But now what's really happening is, and my proudest moment is when I can see some of our host neighbors sitting on the boards now of other organizations. And that to me speaks to the fact that these residents now have significant contributions they can make to others. And we have $75 million in community investment from people like Link, the City of Grand Rapids, Habitat for Humanity, and all the redevelopment and restoration of some of the properties within Seeds. So what's the issues? I think we're at capacity. We're program rich and operational funding poor, meaning that some of our issues deal with the success we've had. The in-kind support has caused some struggles. We've created this service delivery paradigm, like who decides? Well, the host neighbors are going to decide, but then how is it decided through the co-creation, maybe with actually other competing enterprises? And then you have the concern for meeting expectations at various levels, including residents and host neighbors as well as partners. So what have been the keys to success? I think you're seeing a quick shift here that's taking place, even though the transition to it may have happened over many years. I think we see this top-down model of a lot of federal-based programs now offering an alternative to collaborative community-based decision-making and investment. I think the entitlement to empowerment model is shifting as I see these host neighbors able to step up into these spaces and actually lead and manage these impact teams. I think we've seen complacency to creativity and innovation, not being concerned with status quo. I see a lot of change around assumptions and perceptions, like we think we understand, but if you get a chance to spend some time in Seeds, you really get to understand the difference. And I think this status quo to change is maybe happening quicker as we start to leverage some of these existing programs. So what makes Seeds really, really work? I think we know triple bottom line sustainability, but we've added a fourth leg in a sense of place. As I've looked over the past period of time with this very diverse community, what you learn is they have their culture, they have their community, they have their diversity and heritage and values. We need to really listen and build upon what those are. But the real change now is self-sustainability and self-governance. These host neighbors are inspired to do their work. They're willing to take a challenge and try, and they really want to do their best to create a self-sustaining neighborhood where, as they would say, we would look forward to a handshake. Yes, there is a handout, but we want to develop partnerships and collaborations to help get this done. Thank you. More information is available at seedsofpromise.net.